So a wonderful saint, and a great example for us, even in the midst of all the kind of trappings of state that accompanied his ministry, and in the midst of sort of poverty and great need, and also opposition. We have a saint day today, Roisin, a saint's feast day.
Oh yes, now do you have this? I know his name.
You do, Charles.
Yeah.
Charles Borromeo.
Borromeo, yes.
Or as I heard it pronounced once, Charles Borromeo. Or Borromeo. Like, Charles Borromeo. No, Borromeo. He's Italian. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm mispronouncing it. Borromeo. It's probably whatever. Archbishop of Milan from quite a young age, born of an aristocratic and wealthy family, and related to the Medicis, which are a very prominent, wealthy family back in the 16th century. You had the Papal States. We learned a little bit about that on my trip to Rome, and we went to visit the east of the country, and the influence of the popes and the various families. The Medicis was one of the big, powerful families. You hear of other surnames of big families like that. You in a mafia context as well, how they're very powerful. But it's a sort of tradition in Italy, and they sponsored and supported the church, and again in these years would have supported artistic endeavour in the medieval years, and so would have been very influential and very powerful. So at least they're also generating saints for the church. But part of the problem was there's an awful lot of nepotism. So if you were a cardinal, you were part of an influential family, you could kind of give a backhander to your nephew, and he could come in and rise up the ranks. And so there was a share of corruption in the middle of all that too. There's never, is there ever a time when there's no messing going on? But from the age of 12, Charles Borromeo had received the clerical tonsure and the revenues of the commendatory abbacy of Arona, long enjoyed by his family. So even as a young boy, brought into that world. And the tonsure is that haircut where you talking about the kippah, but it's a haircut that kind of goes around your head, like you put a bowl on and you shave the top head, and it's like a ring around your head. It's like a halo on your head of hair.
My goodness.
That's what that is. It was a special rite of admission to the path to being ordained. But at 12, they've come starting off fierce young. So at the age of 22, he got his doctorate degree, so obviously a bright young man, by which time his uncle, the Cardinal de' Medici, this is where all this comes in, he had now become Pope Pius IV. And he heaped honours on his nephew, including, I know what these are exactly, legations, protectorates, the administration of the Diocese of Milan, and appointment as Cardinal. So he's only a young man. He kind of, here you go, here's all this responsibility. This required residence in Rome for him, and Charles delegated the government of the diocese to deputies. He kept a large household and entertained in a manner suitable to his rank. So he was very wealthy, and it was the way they did it. But he desired to leave the papal court to become a monk. So obviously he was deeply spiritual. Yes. Like he wasn't pulled into this world of wealth and trappings and all that stuff. And this is where his sanctity, of course, would come in. At any rate, he supported Pius IV in reopening the Council of Trent for its last and final session, and his outstanding energy, his diplomacy, and his vigilance were to a great extent responsible for its continuance and conclusion. And he helped to draft the Catechism of the Council of Trent, which is a prelude to our own catechism that we have today. And it was instrumental in helping to counteract the Protestant Reformation in establishing solid Catholic doctrine and teaching, and summarizing it and containing it all together in one document, and then using that then to overcome heresy and opposition and so on. So his intelligence and his standing, he used to good
and from a young
in the
lad,
life of the church.
Right, true, wonderful.
But like all the good saints, it tells me here, his reforms met vigorous opposition. There's always, you want to do something good, good luck. You're going to meet opposition of all kinds. Let's say there was conflict with the civil authority at the time, and even an attempt by a discontented friar to assassinate him.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, welcome to the church, Roisin. You know, human beings, and there but for the grace, you know, that you get those who are jealous or whatever, get a thing in their head, and it's like, I'll show him, you know.
Oh my goodness, dreadful.
So the poor chap. In
Didn't succeed, Father, thank God.
Obviously not, no. But in fairness, in 1570 and again 1576, St. Charles was conspicuous in helping his city, in the first case feeding many during a famine, and in the second nursing the plague-stricken. So he wasn't just lording about in the court, so to speak, but on his hands and knees, or I suppose out there getting his hands dirty and ministering to the sick and the poor. That's the stuff of sainthood. On both occasions, he not only organised the relief work, but also took a prominent personal part in it. So that's why we remember for his greatness there. So he did great work in counteracting the Reformation, and let's see, he associated himself indeed in the work in opposing the likes of Calvin and Zwingli, and some of the witchcraft and sorcery that was common at the time too. So tireless, energetic, always on the move, worn out by the time he was 46. He died in Milan on the 3rd of November.
Goodness, young
buried,
man.
Buried in Milan Cathedral. So that's worth a pilgrimage if you're anywhere in or around near Milan. And in fact, the Radio Maria headquarters are only up the road from Milan, about 50 kilometres, I suppose. It's called Erba.
Wonderful.
But I never got the chance to visit the cathedral in Basilica in Milan there with his remains. So a wonderful saint, and a great example for us, even in the midst of all the kind of trappings of state that accompanied his ministry, and in the midst of sort of poverty and great need, and also opposition. That's your typical story of a saint. Yeah. How did the guy deal with problems? Did he go, come back at them? Did he fly off the handle, or did he roll up his sleeves and say, "Look, there's work to be done"?
Dreadful.
So that's what we got to do today. I mean, it's the same
absolutely.
thing, really.
Bring the word of God, and if God knows He loves us all, and He loves everybody, even if they don't love Him, He still loves them.
And be faithful,
Yes.
and persistent, and as he did indeed, persevere.
Yes.
In the face of opposition of all kinds.